Got some serious stuff today here, fellas. A 2025 Chevy Equinox EV RS. So the fast one. No, it's not fast at all. Anyways, in this video, I'll talk about exactly what this thing is, how I feel about the interior space, and what it's like to drive it. You can make all the fun you want from GM, but I have to give it to them. They're taking electrification seriously and make one of the better EVs on the market, and sales numbers prove that, just like in the case of our today's hero, a Chevy Equinox EV. So what exactly is this thing, and is it the same as the gas-powered model? Well, unfortunately, it's not. It's a purely EV-based vehicle that uses its own dedicated EV architecture, and the only thing that it shares with the gas counterpart is the name. So it uses GM's BEV3 platform, which underpins a lot of vehicles from GM, as well as cars like a Honda Prologue or an Acura ZDX. Obviously, it also uses the Ultium powertrain architecture, which in this case, it features an 85 kilowatt-hour battery pack that can be combined with two powertrains. A 220 horsepower single motor front-wheel drive, offering up to 319 miles, or a 300 horsepower dual motor all-wheel drive, which drops 10 miles of range, giving you about 309 miles on full battery. As of charging times, if you use DC fast charging, you can get 77 miles of range in about 10 minutes, and going from 20% to 80% takes about 34 minutes. Just like with other EVs, the final 20% capacity of the battery charges at slower rate, exchanging the charge time. Obviously, the most convenient and inexpensive way is to charge at home using an AC level 2 wall box. If you take that approach, you can add up to 34 miles per hour of charge. Now, pricing for this thing starts at around $35,000 for the base front-wheel drive LT1 and tops at a little over 54 grand for the tested RS front-wheel drive. But that's obviously before the incentives. All-wheel drive is a $5,300 option for an LT1 and higher trims $3,300. Now, before we talk what it's like to drive this thing on our favorite back road, because it's an RS, let's take a look inside and talk about the interior space. Okay, so we are inside the Chevy Equinox EV. Honestly, I don't know what to say about this cabin. You can drop me in any new Chevy product and I will not be able to tell you in which model I'm sitting in. It has an okay design with decent ergonomics, same with quality, not breathtaking, but totally acceptable for this segment. You can find soft touch materials where it matters and hard plastics below the beltline and in the back where they matter a little less. The RS trims gives us some sporty accents such as red stitching or a flat bottom steering wheel, but that's just a visual package, and honestly, I wouldn't even bother paying extra for the RS trim. What I really like about it though is how much space and storage this thing offers. The door packets are of a decent size, the center console is massive with its multi-tier storage, and you can tell that this thing has been designed with usability in mind. I mean, that's one of the benefits of using a dedicated EV platform. The trunk has 26 cubic feet of space with the seats up, 57 cubic feet after folding them down, so less if we compare it to the gas-powered Equinox, but still, it will meet most people's needs. No frunk up front, as the space under the hood is taken by the electric motors and the powertrain components. Again, by default, this car is front-wheel drive, so that's why this stuff is sitting there. Now, technology. Right in front of us, we have a head-up display in the Stop RS trim and a fairly customizable gauge cluster which displays your trip information, different design gauges, navigation map, or a driver assist information. Right next to it, we have a massive 17.7-inch display, which obviously runs a Google operating system. That means we get over-the-air updates and some applications from the store, such as Google Maps or Waze. We can also install other apps like Spotify, and you probably want to explore the library because, just like in any other fully electric GM product, we don't get Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. I personally don't feel a need for it as long as I can have Waze and Google Maps, but I do understand why some may want it. The good news is we still have manual climate controls and some buttons to the left of the steering wheel, and overall, living with this thing is pretty easy. The front seats are average. Not the most comfortable, not the most supportive, but you can live with them. The good news is you can find a somewhat comfortable seating position behind the wheel, no matter what size you are. Now, moving to the back, the rear legroom and headroom are massive, so two full-size adults will have no issues fitting back there. We get climate vents and two USB-C charging ports, so no complaints there. Well, that was the cabin of the Chevy Equinox, so let's get it on the road now and see how it drives. Okay, so we are behind the wheel of the Chevy Equinox EV RS. Let's see if there's any sport in this RS trim. Let's change our drive mode to sport. All right, so we're off to a good start, fellas. Maybe that's gonna work. Let's disable one pedal drive. Again, we have 220 horsepower, front-wheel drive variant. Let's floor it. Okay, it goes. We get some synthetic engine noise, but the car doesn't really wow you like most electric cars with its torque and power, but that's okay, and we're gonna get to that in a minute. First, let's see how it does dynamically. One thing that I can tell you already is I really like how the braking system has been calibrated, given that we are working with pattern rotors and regen braking from electric motors. I would rather be in that Corvette right now, but that's okay. All right, good amount of body roll. We can feel the weight of the car, even though the battery pack lowers the center of gravity. Nothing on the steering wheel. We cannot feel anything. It's very numb. We do have passive dampers on the Equinox, so even after we switched it to sport mode, that hasn't changed how the chassis behaves. Also, as we accelerate in the corner, we can feel some torque steer. Yeah, it's not the most inspiring car to drive. Let's take some of those corners a little bit more aggressively. We can use regen on the brake by using this left paddle. Nicely slows down. There isn't much rotation. Some understeer and traction and stability control start to kick in. All right, it's pointless. I can already tell you that if you think that the Equinox EV RS is gonna be fun to drive, well, sadly it will not. Let's put the one pedal drive mode on. We can actually set 2 levels of it. We can completely disable it, put it into normal or high. Let's keep it in normal because that's how most people will drive it, and talk about what it's like to live with the Equinox EV on a daily basis. I'm honestly positively surprised. This thing is a super easy electric vehicle to drive. You can get into this thing and have no issues getting used to. Granted, one pedal drive will take you probably a day or 2 days, but once you figure it out, you can very nicely modulate the braking power to get the full advantage of the EV drivetrain that you have. And in general, the Ultium powertrain that GM puts in their vehicles, or also Honda and Acura, is very nicely calibrated. It is very smooth. It is pretty efficient. I mean, I know right now the computer says that I've been averaging 2.5 miles per kilowatt hour, but that's because I've been driving this thing aggressively. I did a few runs on our favorite back road. In real life, you can easily average 4 miles per kilowatt hour, which is a pretty strong result. I mean, I've driven cars that are smaller, like a Mercedes EQB, and I think my best result in the EQB was 2.7 miles per kilowatt hour. So here we have much more. So very efficient drivetrain, no complaints in that area. The suspension is also very softly sprung and it nicely filters out road imperfections. The 21-inch rims that the RS gets kind of take away some of the ride quality from you. That's why I wouldn't even bother getting the RS, get the LT2 or LT1. They're gonna be much more, you get bigger wheels with bigger sidewalls. So from a daily driving perspective, again, RS probably unnecessary cost, and you can get a pretty nice equipment on the LT2. I think that's the model that I would go for. You know, after Bolt has been discontinued, the Equinox EV is that entry-level model, entry-level electric offering in Chevy's lineup, and it's a pretty good proposition. You know, super easy to drive, it's practical, it's comfortable. You can get it on a highway up to 80, 85 miles an hour, and it's gonna be relatively quiet. That battery pack that sits on the floor acts as a form of isolation, so there isn't that much road noise coming inside. And we also can get Super Cruise, which in my eyes is the best hands-free semi-autonomous driving system. It's compatible at this point on more than 200,000 miles of roads in the US and Canada. It does automatic lane changes for you, and it works very, very well. From a tech standpoint, it's also pretty good cabin. You know, we have nice big screen, which people love these days. I hate it, but you know what, whatever, that's what customers buy. We still have good ergonomics, good amount of physical controls, and like I said, you can drive a gas-powered car and then have this as your first EV, and the learning curve will be pretty small. So good job, Chevy. Not super inspiring to drive even the RS trim, but as an EV and car that you're gonna use on a daily basis as your commuter, very good proposition. You can get very good deals on it, 0% financing, so there's a little bit of risk of buying and owning an EV. To me, still, you know, it's better off if you just lease them because the technology changes so fast. But yeah, if you want to try an EV, give this thing a shot. you're not gonna regret it. Anyways, that's all I wanted to say about the Equinox EV, so let's head into the final thoughts and summarize it. Okay, summing up the Equinox EV. It's a car, it has wheels, a steering wheel, and it's electric. That's the best way to describe it. This thing seriously sucks the soul out of you, and it's a pure appliance, but from a potential customer, it gets all the things done. It's comfortable, practical, has a decent range on a battery, and what else do you need? Seriously, like, people get crazy about cars these days and forget that sometimes we need a simple method of transportation. GM is clearly going in the right direction with the electrification, and I am excited about their future. The Equinox is definitely worth checking out, but not in the top RS trim. It's not sporty and it's way overpriced. Get the LT1, LT2, and you'll be happy with it. Anyways, if you guys have any questions about it, drop a comment. I'll be more than happy to answer them. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you all later.